What is up? Welcome to the Be Real With Me Now podcast. I am your host, Katie Iverson, and I could not be more ecstatic and happy and thankful that each and every one of you are listening right now. This has definitely been a dream of mine for some time now, and I cannot be more excited to start this whole thing off with you all. This is going to be a podcast. Let's just talk about this for a minute, because this is going to be a space where we're not going to sugarcoat a lot of things that we talk about. This is going to be a space where we talk about real stuff, real issues, and real things that us as women have to go through on the daily basis, and different things on how we can overcome those. I am going to have some guests on every now and then, and we'll talk about being a business owner or how to be a mom the best way, which there's no golden answer to that. We all know that. But even just on, stuff like mental illness or how to get through your to-do list, because we all know that we have one, and it seems to be that it's always never ending. But we are here to get through that together, and everybody's journey is different, and how we can help each other is going to be something that is going to be pretty spectacular here in this space. So I'd like to start off by telling you a little bit about myself. I have been in the Sioux Falls area. I was born and raised here, and basically been here the last part of my life. Actually, I've left for college and then came back. I am now married to the love of my life, Casey Iverson, and we live in the suburb of Sioux Falls, and we could not be more happy to call this place home. I am super excited that we get to have a little puppy that is named Carl. He is pure trouble. Oh my goodness, you guys. If you could see him on the daily basis, he is kind of a Jekyll and Hyde. He likes to be nice to Casey and I, but then if someone comes to the door, he's a total Hyde and will get you any way, shape, or form. Our poor male guy. So we're happy to have him in our lives. We will talk a little bit about my health journey, and that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to have this podcast, because the last 14 years of my life, I have gone through what seems like hell and back with my personal health. My husband and I weren't able to have kids, and we will talk about all those raw feelings and emotions, and basically endometriosis and what that is, and why it should be something that our government actually takes seriously and gives research to, because it is March. It is National Endometriosis Month, which is a huge month for me to promote, just because that ultimately is the disease that took me having kids away. But we're going to talk about how we got through it and what we are doing going forward and how we can be advocates for that. Also, I'm going to talk a little bit about basically what makes me me. When I went to school in Minneapolis, Minnesota for fashion retail merchandising. And from there, I went to intern over in New York City, one of the most beautiful cities in the world, I truly believe, and interned at Bergdorf Goodman there, right on floor 1, in designer handbags and fine jewelry. That's right. It was a total dream. And you can definitely see that is in my daily life now, because I own a designer handbag, 100% authentic resale company named Designer Arm Candy. And so that has come definitely full circle in my life. But after college, I worked for Best Buy Corporate as an assistant buyer in their car electronics division. And there I really got an insight to corporate life, and also learning a little bit about the big box retail that makes this world go round. From there, I moved back home. My sister was having her very first baby, her and her husband were, and I wanted to be the aunt that got to spoil him rotten. And so moved back to Sioux Falls, and there I worked in advertising for about 3 years, and finally decided to take the leap of faith into entrepreneurship and small business ownership. And wow, Was that a huge leap of faith, leaving a very secure job and being able to have a 401k and paid time off and all these amazing things that come with being employed by someone else and not yourself, and basically going, I think I can do this, let's try it, and we jumped. So, with the love of my husband and support of him cashing out his 401k, that is right, it takes a lot of sacrifice to be a business owner. We started what was called Glamour Defined. Glamour Defined was my women's boutique that was open from August 1st, 2015. Up until just recently, this January, we closed it to focus on different opportunities, including this podcast, and focusing on primarily our designer bag business, which is really taking off and my ultimate true passion. So from there, Glamour was the first baby that gave me my 2 other businesses. So you heard me talk about designer arm candy, but that wasn't enough for me, I guess. And so we started a print shop where we did screen printing of like t-shirts, sweatshirts, koozies, bags, basically anything that you could print on that was soft. And really that started to take off too as well. And I am super excited to announce that we did just sell that business at the beginning of March. So we're down to just one business again. Thank goodness, because I was starting to be stretched a little too thin, and you can only imagine the stress and anxiety that comes with that as a business owner, trying to make sure that everyone is happy and everyone's taken care of, all at the same time while you're trying to keep yourself sane and be a good wife and a good mom to Carl, and then also just trying to show up for myself as well. So what a journey that has been, and we'll talk about all those different things along the podcast here when we truly get into it. So that's where we're at right now. But we're going to talk about nitty gritty stuff here. We're going to talk about mental illness. The last about 4 months, I would say that I suffered dramatically from both depression and chronic anxiety, to the point where it was almost handicapping me, where I couldn't get out of bed in the morning. It was painful for me to even think about my to-do list. I had no motivation. I was burnt out of all of my businesses and just didn't want to do it, wanted to crawl into a hole and just go away. That is not an okay thing, and is definitely something that I'm sure a lot of you can relate to. And I'll talk about how I kind of got out of that hole. And part of that was basically starting this podcast and being okay with showing up just as myself for everyone here, and knowing that that was okay. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about burnout. Burnout is a total real thing. Whether you work for yourself or you work for someone else, you work in corporate, you work in small business, it is a real thing, and it is definitely something where it can touch just about anybody and anyone. So if you think you are immune to burnout, you are not. And sometimes it comes when you very least expect it, and it is something that is hard to get out of. So just knowing like the true tools on how to get out of that. We'll talk about stress. We'll talk about anxiety, all those fun things that we absolutely love having in our life, right? Absolutely not. I hate those things. I wish I could just make them go away, but it is part of our human nature. And I think it also is just part of being a woman in general, is just in general being anxious or worried about things. I know that a lot of you out there are probably moms. I can think of one of my best friends. She just had a baby. Like the stress that would come with being a brand new mom with your very first baby, or maybe you're a foster mom and you are new to that, and they're not your kids, but you are treating them as if they are your kids and want to provide for them. The anxieties that come with, am I doing this right? Are they getting enough food? Did I make them happy today? I gave them a roof over their head, but was that enough? So just those kind of stresses that come into life. we're totally going to talk about some really fun things too. So whether it be The Bachelor, like, come on, Pilot Pete, you really let me down this season. Or is the Target dollar spot really worth it? Like, be real with me now. Is it really that good? Because I'm pretty sure I had 3 warehouse spaces when we had our 3 businesses. And one of them was just filled with random crap from the Target dollar spot. Why I bought it, I have no clue, but because it was only $1 or $3, it was totally enticing. So we will talk about all those fun things here right on the podcast, but we're also going to have a bunch of fun visitors that are going to come in and help me co-host the podcast. Some of them being family members, some of them being industry professionals, business owners, friends, just a whole array of different personalities that will be on this podcast that I cannot wait to share with you their journey and the realness that comes with being them. So I'm super excited that you are here. I cannot wait to get started. I hope you have a great week and see you back here for the next episode and really the first true episode of the Be Real With Me podcast. I hope you have a good one and we will see you next week. Remember to keep it real.